All right. So the very first exercise is going to be list each strategic action Anheuser-Busch initiates and classify it as either horizontal diversification, vertical diversification, horizontal alliance, and vertical alliance.
Sure. I guess I can start with the horizontal diversification. Um, I think their launch of non-alcoholic beverages in 2020 was pretty cool. Anheuser-Busch began diversifying its portfolio by launching a range of non-alcoholic beverages, such as energy drinks, teas, that were aimed at appealing to health-conscious consumers. So, despite being a beer company, they also had healthy offerings.
Yep, I agree. And then during the documentary also, when Dogfish executed their pumpkin beer, they turned around and started that line as well, with the pumpkin spice beer and selling it at a lower price. And they're like, Dogfish was like, hey, if you're gonna sell crap for lower instead of a quality beer like ours, then if you want to buy that.
Right. I mean, they're able to do it because they can produce it at a lower cost, which I mean is kind of sucky for Dogfish Head in that aspect because obviously they're making very high quality, well, you know what I mean, high quality and flavor and everything beer, and they can just go ahead and be like, yeah, here's our pumpkin spice, like for $3 or $4. I think what was it? Was it $4? And theirs was like 7 or 8.
Yeah, something
Yeah,
like
I think
that.
it was 4.99 or 7.99 or something like that.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, did we have anything for vertical diversification?
Yeah, I put and I'm not sure if it was covered in the documentary, but the ownership of barley farms. So Anheuser-Busch vertically diversified by purchasing and managing its own barley farms, allowing the company to exert more control over its raw material supply for brewing. And that's pretty cool because like you'll notice that even within oil and gas companies, being fully integrated does save on costs. Therefore, their economies of scale goes up, and so does their profit margins.
Oh yeah, yeah. With the barley farms, they had the rice mills and the hop farms as well with that, so that definitely reduced their cost profit margins.
I was going to mention the farms and having those relationships and having that vertical integration there was mutually beneficial for both the farmers and Anheuser-Busch, but that was a vertical that I had as well.
Yeah. I mean, I'd have to agree. Like, that's a very big part of their business being more efficient and lowering costs.
And then for, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, go
Oh, I
ahead.
was
Sorry.
just reading to myself and probably made too much noise. Go ahead.
No, I was moving on to horizontal alliance, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna for horizontal alliance, what I've got down is the partnership with craft breweries such as Goose Island, and the acquisition of Goose Island. So Anheuser-Busch formed alliances with or acquired smaller craft breweries to expand their offerings and tap into niche markets, and through local brews.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They definitely went that way with acquiring and partnering and all that with all of the other smaller breweries. That way they can keep helping them produce, but at the same time, like, I think it makes a big difference, like doing it on your own, especially as a small brewery, and then like a huge brewery, like lets you keep your. I mean, it's still their product, but they let you keep your name and do what you want to do, but they still kind of have their own say in it.
Yeah, and then they also when they partnered up to for the transportation, it allowed the smaller breweries or companies to join their trucks for distribution. That was part of the alliance as well, saying, all right, I guess we'll let you come on board these trucks.
Yeah.
Um,
uh,
and, and then for vertical alliance, I had to look this one up to see like I didn't I guess see something in the video, but they have a alliance with it's called Craft Brew Alliance, where they basically have a collection of craft breweries and different partners that partner together to distribute all of these different craft beers. But I couldn't really find anything in the video that I was thinking of for that. So
I couldn't either, so I did some research on my own, and I found that in 2018 they actually established alliances with renewable energy providers to provide their breweries with renewable electricity, which is also pretty clever because I mean breweries require quite a bit of energy. So the fact that they're able to cut down on those costs, it's definitely going to play in their favor.
Yeah, and I think that was about the time they merged with Boston Beer, right? With the Sam Adams people around 2018, 19
I believe
as
so.
well. Yeah. And then during the video, I'm not sure if that would fall into Vertical Alliance. I think it did. You know how they had the 3-step check and balance. They can deliver beer directly to the consumer. So they kind of like partnered with the warehouses, distributors, and they kind of streamlined that transportation, and just had warehouses full of the beer distributor to you know basically doing drop ships for all their shipments.
Move on to the next exercise.
yeah, we can do that. So same things, but for Dogfish Head. So for horizontal diversification, I think that is like a continual thing that Dogfish Head is doing, that they are they try to be great at what they do and not necessarily do everything that everybody else already does. So they are constantly creating like holiday flavors or a specialty pumpkin beer or something that is unique to them and known to be high quality. So their horizontal diversification is really just different offerings that they keep trying to come up with and trying to create the next best thing for them and for their niche market.
Right. And I think a lot of breweries like definitely follow in that kind of footstep in making unique beers, unique flavors and everything. And Dogfish Head obviously hits the nail on the head with what they do because it is a good market with like certain people liking certain flavors. And personally I love when the holiday beers come out, even if it's not just Dogfish Head, but just like everybody. It's very interesting to see like, oh, like, you know, it's only offered for this amount of time, whatever, like I gotta try it, right?
Yeah,
I also think.
Yep.
Go ahead, Jose.
So yeah, they're definitely concentrated on quality very instead of quantity, with all their flavors and stuff. And then correct myself, it's Dogfish Beer that merged with Boston Beer, not
Boston,
Anheuser.
yeah.
Yeah. Looking at my notes here, I'm like, oh no, I got it mixed up.
I looked
yeah.
at that like after you said it. I'm like, I'm not going to interject yet, but we can talk about that
Yeah,
later.
yeah, I want to
But
correct
that's
myself.
okay. It's still that one of those alliances there.
Yeah.
And you had something.
No, I think y'all hit the
Okay.
nail on the head.
I think one more big thing on their diversification I actually looked up was their 90-minute IPA that Dogfish had, where they had the continuous drop of the hops to make like that perfect tasting beer and a higher alcohol level percentage.
Mm-hmm. And I think they have a 30-minute, they have a 60-minute, and they have a 90-minute. I've been a big fan of Dogfish Head. The 60-minute's awesome. If you've never had it, it's good.
I've had the 60
But
minute. I like it.
I think that they named it that because like the amount of alcohol in these beers, like you should have 60 minutes in between each one of them because I mean 90 minutes in between because
Oh.
they're high alcohol content beers. Um, sorry, that's like completely off topic here, kind of, but for vertical diversification, I think that really came into play when sorry, one of my kids just came in here. That came into play when they were expanding into their building and like creating those better operations to
One question.
hang on one second, please.
We had to take it apart.
Sorry. Um,
It's okay.
but expanding into that building and having the ability to create a bigger production than what they were able to do in their little small scale before they got there, and then overcoming the issues with the community where he wasn't even allowed to be there. But like it wasn't legal for them to be open, remember?
Yep.
So just creating that production environment and improving their ability to create.
Oh yeah, that was definitely one of the big ones is the upgrades in the brewery to increase their production and be able to push out more of their product.
Hmm.
Now, for the alliance, I did that. That basically they were able to partner with, like I said, Anheuser-Busch to be able to distribute their product, so they didn't, have to scrounge for transportation and being the little company out there, fighting to get transportation.
And then the other one you had mentioned earlier, the merger with the Boston Beer Company, so of course that as well.
And just
Yeah.
kind of off topic of that a little bit. I actually researched them a little bit. Now they got all kinds of stuff, restaurants and
Yeah, brew pubs.
museums. Yeah, I was like, wow, they've come a long way.
Yeah. And I'm sure that they do this, but obviously I don't pay attention to every brewery that I go to, but there's a lot of breweries too that are, like you said, like brew pubs, not necessarily that they brew their own beer, but they have all of these craft breweries, beers available on tap for everybody. So like tapping into that market too, not just making cans or bottles and distributing it in store, but getting a tap at somebody's brew pub too.
Yep.
Y'all want to move
That
to
is
vertical
a
alliances?
cool thing about Dogfish Head also is that they have they have a tasting room and kitchen right there on their place where you can go in and taste the different types, and they have a restaurant there too. Yeah, we can move on to vertical alliances. Sorry.
Yeah, I saw that.
No,
That
no,
was
you're
pretty
good. I'm sorry. Rude
you're
as hell.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say their partnership with hop growers is a great vertical alliance. They partnered with hop growers to experiment with new hop varieties and ensure a sustainable supply chain for its unique brewing ingredients.
Yeah. And I did kind of look it up. Hops play a very large role in their flavor and such, and that actually has to do with the 60-minute and all of those. It has to do with the hops too, like how long they let it
Yeah, how long they
boil.
let it
Yeah, how long they let it
ferment.
boil. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd make
it's
sure
funny.
that boil was the word.
Yeah, it's funny. I was reading they got that idea from a chef that was making like some kind of stew or soup, and then he was adding a little bit of seasoning as throughout while it was brewing or boiling or whatever, cooking, and that's how he had perfected the soup. And they're like, oh, let's try that with beer with the hops, and sure enough,
Yeah.
it worked out for him.
Wait, so
And
what
I
does the
don't-
boiling do to the hops?
So it's at a certain point during the brewing process. And okay, I'm a home brewer, not recently, but I used to. So at a certain point throughout the brewing process is whenever you put your hops in, and then if you know how to do it, then you just set a timer or whatever. But there's like a website that actually gives you like a step-by-step too. But anyways, it basically locks in the flavor, and that's kind of what acts with the I'm gonna speak wrong here. There's something else that goes in with the hops, and it kind of eats away and makes your beer pretty much. But you have to put
I'm
in
gonna
certain kind of hops, and you get different types of flavor with it.
Interesting.
And my whole thing about the 30, 60, 90 minutes is definitely wrong. That's just a bar story because I looked it up. That's how long it boils, hops boil. So it's continuously hopped for 90 minutes. And they have
Interesting.
121 that's hopped for 120 minutes. So
Yeah.
interesting and corrected.
Basically, yeah.
Now
Basically,
I feel like dumb because I was like
it's
I knew what I was
okay.
talking about and I had no idea.
But that's like the allure of it, right? Like you would, who's gonna look it up? You hear the story and you're like, oh, like
Yeah, that's
yeah.
cool. Yeah. Well, I drank 3 in 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. All
But
right. Do we
yeah,
want to
but
go ahead and go ahead?
oh,
I'm sorry.
I was just gonna add one more thing. Like with the hops, it's not, it is about the flavor, but it's not like, that's not completely what gives it flavor. It already has flavor from like the wheat and everything too. So
Mm,
it just kind of assists in a way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a layer. I understand.
Yeah. Okay, we can move on.
Mhm.
All right. So we are the top management team for Dogfish Head. What competitive actions can you take to fortify your market position against your competition?
Um, Go ahead. Okay, I'll say, well, one thing, I'll keep those superior quality of products, to match the price of, so that the customers sense that value in the product they're getting. Um, so I think as long as we keep that quality in our products, we'll keep our customers loyal.
Yeah. Um, I would say with the flavor part of the market being very like, I guess I would say hush hush, but you know what I'm saying? Like, don't go out there like broadcasting it until like we have the product ready to move. Because, once they caught wind of like them making the pumpkin spice or like seasonal beers, they immediately made something super quick. So, like, getting it out there first too would be a good advantage. That way it's like people see ours first and then it's like, oh, there's other choices after ours has already been out there for a minute.
I also think that
Oh,
they're compared to like Anheuser-Busch, their direct to consumer methodology is actually pretty smart. Like we were talking about the brew pubs and like their on-site experiences, and having face like that for your company is it involves the people more in the product. And when people are involved in a product like that, that's how you get a cult following, right? Whereas Anheuser-Busch doesn't have that. Like their offerings are like, like, okay, traditional like Super Bowl ads or like, giant billboards. Like there's of that scale, but they don't have that in-person interaction. And having that, I think, is one of the things that'll separate Dogfish Head from Anheuser-Busch. So I think they should continue to do that.
Yeah.
I think something that I might also look at doing is possibly trying to advertise the quality of ours compared to the other guys, like amount spent on grain, amount spent on this, like um, time that goes into creating. And I know it's going to be hard, like with shelf space, to have any type of ads next to it because Anheuser-Busch dominates everything and they get what they want. But maybe on the box or do some TV ads that show the difference in why ours is so much more high quality. That's just out of the box idea there, I guess.
Right.
Yeah. I would also try to focus like on, because smaller brewery, you can focus more like on customer service, and you're going to treat your customers more as customer and a human being rather than a number. Anheuser-Busch is like, oh yeah, we sold, millions or whatever, as to where we could focus on a relationship with our customer, and they feel valued by Dogfish.
And then, what strategic actions with respect to diversification would you take and why? And I'll just say this, I think that it's awesome that they don't have everything that their competitors have, but I also think like it wouldn't be a bad deal to throw out a light beer out there, like, hey, we've got something for everybody too, but that may be just completely against what their identity is, but just some idea that it's a little different. Not different, it's just like everybody else, but it's having an offering for other people, and maybe they do already. I didn't look into that, I guess.
Well, I
Yeah.
guess like you could do some crazy stuff too, because like I've seen like, for example, some beer companies like for example, work with fashion brands, right, and stuff like that. Like actually, so they don't have to change their offerings necessarily, because I do believe that what makes Dogfish unique is their current proposition, right? So like, how do you add on to that without changing who they are or diluting their spirit? And I feel like cross country, like cross industry collaborations, like partnering with like lifestyle brands, co-branded products that align with Dogfish Head's like spirit, right? Like that's not something that'll dilute the company. Rather, it'll add to it and it'll still keep its charm.
Right. And I know this is somewhat left field, but you saw that Lululemon is kind of paired with a coffee shop, like kind of the same idea. Like they could
That's
find
dope.
someone to make a flavor with, like, oh, like this is our seasonal line, like going with your fashion idea, like this is our seasonal line of clothes, like you know, Dogfish Head came out with this to go along with it, like, you know, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and maybe even consider merging with other small breweries. You know, kind of with the in likes of products and your superior products and stuff like that, and be able to merge it with them and kind of expanding your market.
Yeah.
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 I wonder if like there's also like maybe creating some type of flavor that I don't know if you can patent a flavor or not, but something that's just totally different that nobody else could touch, you know?
You know, they had some kind of lobster flavored beer or something. So that I thought I was like, oh, I don't even know if I would try that, but hey,
Yeah, but then you've got like Jones Soda that makes like bacon flavored soda and stuff, and people still buy that for the
And
novelty
there's
anyway.
whiskeys made with shellfish.
yeah.
Cool.
But that was one of their like unique products that they had up north, was some kind of lobster beer.
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
nasty.
Well, if y'all have y'all been to like Total Wine with like their singles beer section, the flavors on that wall alone are insane. Like they have like banana bread to I don't even know what, something crazy, but it's very interesting to like, it's intriguing to be like, okay, what could that possibly taste like? So maybe tapping into like that part of like your customer's brain, like you come out with a flavor that's not necessarily like repulsive, but also intriguing.
And I think that goes along with their spirit, because that's what they've always tried to accomplish. You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
no, that's a great addition.
Yeah.
What about like for expanding their reach? And it's also a little bit of diversification. They have the tasting room at their main location, but what if they look to add small tasting rooms, and even if they were like pop-up tasting rooms around the country to further expand their reach?
That's a great idea. I personally went to one, not necessarily a tasting, but it was like 150 breweries, and it was at like the Museum of Science downtown. They have
Mhm.
bruisology, so like going to things like that too to like get your new product out or something.
Yeah, maybe we can create like a mobile taste truck, you know,
Feel
to
like
get
the
our
Oscar Mayer Wienermobile, but it's the
yeah,
Dogfish
Yeah.
Head, and that'd be a cool like car having it's a dogfish.
yeah,
I
hit
don't
the
know how
road,
that I don't
hit
know
the
how that
road,
would
maybe
work
like
with
this.
like the alcohol part of that, but
You just have some taps on
Yeah.
the side of it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be
kind of like
cool.
a
I-
Kona,
That
like a
sounds
Kona Ice truck.
dope. That sounds
I
Yeah, you
just
dope.
don't know if that's legal.
I'm sure you
I
can make it
mean,
work.
we could figure it out.
Yeah,
But
we
yeah,
could,
with
you know,
get the
When there's a
licensing.
will, there's a way.
yeah,
You're not wrong.
you take a look at like fairs across the country, and you just start planning and hit the road and make spots and
Set
get
up
your
your
name out.
truck. Yeah,
Yeah.
bring it to the
Oh,
rodeo.
another thing, because we talked about pairing with a brand, there's also like plenty of like country music singers and stuff that are like, oh, this is my beer or whatever. Like Post Malone was with Bud Light for like, I think he still is like on that track. So just a
Yeah,
thought.
I mean,
partnerships.
since Kid Rock shut up all the Bud Light, we tried to talk to him about get some Dogfish Head.
Dogfish.
Yeah.
Having
Said,
some lobster beer.
hey.
Yeah. All right, I think
All right.
think we're good.
Yeah.